guys, welcome and welcome back to my channel, The Sugar Sean. I'm back for another video, and welcome to another review slash recap for Insecure Season 4, Episode 9, Low-Key Trying. And there's a lot that I want to talk about in this particular episode. If you like my recaps and my reviews, be sure to subscribe to my channel if you aren't already, if this is your first time finding me. And also be sure to hit that little notification bell, that way you'll never miss a video from your girl. I also upload lifestyle content, fashion-related posts, and dating advice, so if that's your jam, then go ahead and subscribe. But anyway, let's go ahead and jump right into it because we have a lot to cover. So the show actually opens up with Lawrence and Issa, and they're on their couch, the couch they got from season 1, and they're communicating without words. They're sitting there staring into each other's eyes and nothing is being said. And if you've ever done this with your mate, you can understand how intimate that is. Just staring into someone's eyes with nothing being said requires a level of vulnerability that is sometimes very difficult because your natural inclination is to turn away. When somebody really sees you, I mean, even when you break down the words intimacy, it is into me see. They're looking deep into each other's eyes and it is beautiful. They're, connecting. I'm not sure exactly how long of a time span this is supposed to be, but you can tell it's been a while. She's wearing his shirt. She's coming over every day. He's got his head in her lap. They're sharing food. It's just, you could see that the bond it's still there. The love is still there, and they literally pick up where last episode left off. When last episode ended and Issa and Lawrence connected and were intimate, there was a lot of confusion about, was that a goodbye or was that the beginning of something new? And apparently they answered our questions right up front and letting us know it's the beginning of something new. We've really never seen Issa and Lawrence like this happy. The whole issue with Daniel popped up so quickly in season 1. We never really seen too much of Issa and Lawrence just blissfully happy. He was on the couch, he was unemployed, she was stressed. This is showing you Issa and Lawrence in a new way, and I think that's why so many people are now rooting for them that may not have been rooting for them from the very beginning. So one thing that I absolutely love about Insecure is if you actually pay attention, there's always Easter eggs, subtle clues, whether it's the lighting, whether it's the clothing, whether it's background. There's always something that if you're not paying attention to, you can miss. So Issa's wearing a shirt that says The Last Dragon. Now, if you recall from the season finale of last season, Issa and Lawrence kind of reconnected when Molly had that surprise outdoor birthday party for Issa. They went to see Issa's favorite movie, which is The Last Dragon. I also believe that's Lawrence's favorite movie. They actually quoted that movie word for word. It speaks to how comfortable Issa is with Lawrence. As much as we've wanted to root for Issa with other male love interests like Daniel and like Nathan, they've never allowed Issa to connect on this level with anybody but Lawrence. So Lawrence and Issa are on the couch, they're listening to music and they're vibing. Most likely Issa is trying to find an artist for an upcoming event, and Lawrence is like, I like this one, who's this? And so Issa goes to look at her phone and realizes that she missed a text from Nathan, and he's asking her if she's still available to help him move this weekend. So Issa, looks to Lawrence and she lets him know that she has a friend named Nathan, and she says, we used to date, but now we're just friends, and he asked me if I could help him move. How do you feel about that? If you're not okay with it, I don't have to do it. And Lawrence is like, what? I got you turned out like that? And Issa's like, well, I just don't want to ruin this, whatever this is. So then Issa asks a question that I'm telling you 99.9% of men hate. And she's basically like, what is this again? Trying to get Lawrence to define whatever this is. They've been spending all this time together. Y'all know how it is when a guy acts like he's your boyfriend and he's doing boyfriend things but hasn't asked to be your boyfriend. Sometimes you have to ask him, okay, what is this? Lawrence is basically like, what do you want this to be? And Issa's like, I don't know. Then Issa asked Lawrence, do you have any loose ends? And by loose ends, she meant Condola. And he's like, I had a talk with her and that's done. So like I said before with Insecure and the subtle clues, the lyrics to the song play, I just want to stay in the world we created. I just want to sink in the plans that we making. This is a good start with how open they're being seeing about Nathan and Condola, I still have a fear in the back of my mind about Lawrence ever being able to trust Issa again. I just want to put it on record. Just because somebody forgives doesn't mean that they can forget. And I'm not sure if Lawrence can. At least I'm not sure yet. So the next scene we see is Molly, and she is in therapy. That's exactly where she needs to be. But Molly's doing what she's always done, and that's avoiding any kind of responsibility, refusing to take accountability for her actions. And thankfully, her therapist calls her out on it and says, you know, you did the same thing with Torian, and the same thing with Andrew, and the same thing with her dad. Molly has second chances for everyone except for Issa. You know, as much as Molly likes to claim that she's Issa's best friend, you know, when I was thinking about Molly and Issa, the scripture in the Bible about what love is came to mind. And I just want to read it for you guys really quickly. Love is patient. Love is kind. Love does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It does not dishonor others. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Man, that's everything that Molly has been doing. She quick temper. She's always boasting. She's too proud to talk to Issa. She dishonors Issa by dogging her out in front of Andrew. She's self-seeking, expecting Issa to come to her. She's easily angered, and she does keep score. Molly's love comes with conditions, conditions that are really hard to meet. They're impossible to meet. And that's Molly's issue. She expects people that she loves to meet her unrealistic standard of love. Meanwhile, she's not meeting them herself. So then we cut to a scene with Issa, and she's just basically confirming with Nathan that she can help him move, but she looks very reluctant about it. So she places a call to Kelly. Kelly's unavailable, so she has to leave a message, but she does manage to get her brother Amal on the phone, and Amal is struggling with what looks to be some extremely spicy jerk chicken. He's fighting a battle that he is losing. He is no help to Issa. Issa's trying to let him know, look, you know, I'm kind of back with Lawrence, and, you know, I don't know if I should still be friends with Nathan. Do you think that's going to be messy? And he tells her, you know, really quickly that could be potentially messy, but he doesn't really give Issa the time that he gave her in that Thanksgiving episode. He just seems like he's just preoccupied with his plate of food. So because Amal was absolutely no help at all, Issa finally decides that she's going to call Molly. So she calls Molly, and Molly's in the car, and Issa's just like, you know, letting her know, hey, I would really like to meet up, and, you know, I really like to talk to you about some things going on. And Molly seems really receptive to it. And then Issa mentions, you know, I'm kind of getting back with Lawrence, and then Molly's demeanor instantly changes, and Molly just gives her that same nasty attitude that she had at the block party, like, I knew you was selfish, I knew you was this, you were a user and liar. And Issa's just shook, and come to find out that was what she, I guess, sort of imagined Molly saying. So I was surprised to see, despite what she thought Molly would say, she still called. Issa is not afraid to swallow her pride and be the bigger person, and we haven't seen Molly do that yet. And we're going to see more of that as this episode goes on. So Issa asks Molly to brunch, and they meet up, and Issa's there and she's nervous. So she decides to order some mimosas with just a drop or two of orange juice, and she's sitting there and she's waiting for Molly. She's clearly nervous, not sure how she's going to respond. The last time they talked, it was still really tense. And so Molly comes in wearing, I believe you call this a Canadian tuxedo when you are denim head to toe. It's cute, but it's a lot of denim. But anyway, she looks sassy and cute like she always does. She comes over and it's awkward. We knew it would be. We knew it would be stiff. And Molly is not giving Issa any kind of friendly vibe. She comes in, sits down, puts her head down, and looks right into the menu. Doesn't look up, doesn't try to initiate any of the conversation. Issa keeps trying to initiate, and she's just giving her really short, you know, very stiff answers. But the more the mimosas started to flow, the more Molly started to loosen up. And the next thing you know, they were laughing, and Issa was telling her story about the dine and dash from a couple of weeks ago when she went to that paint and sip. So Molly was laughing about it and saying, you know, I should pull up on those girls. And it was a really good time. I mean, we finally got the vibe that we got from so many seasons with Issa and Molly being best friends, showing you good, healthy Black friendship, but they're not addressing anything. They're really sort of ignoring the elephant in the room, and avoidance is what Issa and Molly are both really good at. So where they're getting ready to leave, and Issa initiates a hug, and it's a lot better. In the beginning, when they first tried to hug, it it was very stiff, and it's a little bit better. It felt a bit more natural. Issa says, "I love you, girl," and Molly replies, "I love you too." And then Issa lets Molly know that she has volunteered to help Nathan move just in case she happens to see her this upcoming week. And they both sort of go their separate ways from there. So from brunch, Molly heads to Andrew's and he greets her, and they go in and they start talking. And, Andrew was like, "Well, how was everything? How was brunch?" And Molly lets him know, "We had a good time and everything was fine." It was very surface level, very superficial. And so Andrew asked Molly, "Well, did you guys get a chance to talk about anything deeper?" And then Molly is like, "No, she didn't seem like she wanted to." And so Andrew asked Molly, "Did you bring it up? I mean, did you at least meet her halfway?" And Molly does what she always does, immediately gets defensive whenever anyone asks her to make the first step. Molly has so much pride. And so, Andrew's like, "Look, I'm on your side, but I'm just saying, like you could at least meet her halfway." And again, Molly's reminding him that she's right and that Issa should come to her and that Issa should apologize and that at least she showed up. So then Andrew brings up that his brother Victor had some tickets to a Clippers game, and Molly had apparently let Andrew know that she loves the Clippers, and so he asked her to go, and Molly's kind of like, she's definitely clearly reluctant, and so she says, "Why don't you guys go? Why don't you just turn it into a guys' night out?" And Andrew is kind of, you could tell he feels some kind of way, because again, he just finished talking to Molly about her not showing any effort or not even meeting Issa halfway. And then here he is saying that his brother is using this kind of as a peace offering, and Molly's turning this down too. The writing is on the wall for these two. Yes, they're compatible when it comes to being intimate, but they're not the same. When Andrew had an issue with Victor, he confronted his brother the very next day, and Molly can go weeks, months without actually addressing things, and that's a huge incompatibility. This might be a deal breaker for Andrew, and I honestly suspect that it will be. When you're in a relationship, you don't always get to do everything that you want to do. Sometimes you have to do things that your partner wants to do, because that's fair. That's called compromise. Molly doesn't want to compromise. And you can't expect to not get along with a man's family and think that that's going to last. And when something's important to your partner, it should be important to you. Seeing how important Victor is to Andrew, Molly should have seen that, swallowed her pride, and said, "You know what? Okay, I'm going to at least make the effort." But Andrew's let her off the hook one time too many, and she's gotten used to it. He's created this monster. So in the next scene, Issa meets up with her intern from the block party. I think her name is Sequoia. They're both excited because they have another business that has agreed to be a part of whatever Issa's next event's going to be. They also have a couple of juice bars. So it's going to be some kind of wellness event for the people of Inglewood. So Issa's really excited. Things are really falling into place. And so she hops in her car and she's talking to Lawrence. Lawrence is in San Francisco. It appears that he's on a second interview. You know that job is almost yours already if they called you in for a second interview, especially if they fly you out. Lawrence is going to get that job, okay? But anyway, so Issa's, happy for him, and then she also lets him know that she had brunch with Molly, and he wants to know how that went, and Issa says it went really well. She's like, "You know what? We didn't talk about the things that we really need to talk about, but it's a good start. I'm going to call her in a couple of weeks, have her over for Self-Care Sunday, and boom, we back." So then Lawrence says, "Sometimes you just need some space before trying again." That applies to Molly and Issa, but that also applies to Lawrence and Issa. Maybe the space was all they needed to grow independently so they could actually grow together. I caught that. So it's a moving day for Nathan, and Issa arrives, and she is covered up. She is covered up from her head to her toe. And she goes in and she's feeling awkward right away. She's calling him bruh and just trying to go out of her way every time he tries to get close to her. Even if he's just unpacking a box right next to her, Issa moves. She definitely feels uncomfortable. And so, he tells her that the shop owner where he works is retiring, so he and his friends are buying the shop, and Issa's so happy and proud of him. And he says, "Your hustle invigorated my hustle." He likes Issa and he feels that Issa's good for him, and he also thinks that he's good for her. And so he's smiling and coming over, getting all close, and he's clearly flirting with Issa. And that's when Issa says, "You know what? I have to let you know that my ex and I, we're talking again." And Nathan kind of chuckles under his breath, and Issa's like, "What's so funny?" So Nathan asks Issa, "Oh, so this is the guy that you cheated on?" And he says, I hope he has his stuff together because he seems sometimey. And Issa sort of sees that as a dig. And she's like, well, at least he knows how to use his words and communicate. And that's when Nathan kind of pauses. And he turns and he looks at Issa and he says, I didn't just disappear. He tells her that he found out that he was bipolar and that he needed some time to kind of come to grips with that and to understand that he didn't just ghost her. You could tell by Issa's reaction that completely took her back. And, she was really thinking and trying to process everything. And she was like, I can't believe that I didn't see it. And she really feels some kind of way. She friend zoned Nathan. Ever since Nathan's disappearance, Issa has sort of had him at a distance. And knowing what she knows now, I'm not sure if that changes anything, if that changes everything, but it's something that she needed to know. And I understand why Nathan took his time to tell her. That's something really serious that he needed to figure out for himself first. As much as he liked Issa, he needed some more time to sit with it on his own. I can't wait to see if this changes anything between their dynamic now that Issa knows he had a legitimate reason for ghosting her and she understands and accepts his explanation. So Nathan tells Issa that he knows the kind of people that he needs in his life and that she's one of them. He tells her that he appreciates her and she tells him she appreciates him too. And he doesn't sound like he's going anywhere. He heard everything about Lawrence. He's not going anywhere. This could get messy. When you know that a man is still interested in you and you have a relationship, you can't keep him around. Sounds like Nathan's going to play his position for now, but if Lawrence makes even the slightest mistake, he will be there. If Issa wants the relationship with Lawrence to work, she's going to have to cut Nathan loose. She has so much work to do as far as regaining Lawrence's trust and letting him know that he can trust her with other guys and trust her when he's not around. And having this guy who was once into you, letting you know that he's still into you and you still entertain him. If Lawrence can't have Condola, she can't have Nathan. And that's point blank, period, poo. So Molly arrives at Andrew's with more takeout than she needed. So she has tons of food and she goes in and she asks Andrew about the game that he went to with his brother Victor. And Andrew's like, I had a really good time, but I had to lie for you and tell them that you had to work. But it was really awkward. And he asked Molly, are you ever going to make any kind of effort? And then Molly replies, I don't understand why you would ask me to do something that I don't want to do. And so Andrew's like, but he's my brother. Throughout this entire season, we've all talked about how understanding Andrew has been to Molly. He really has tried his best, but even the most patient man will get tired of you being selfish and always putting your wants and needs before them. There's no compromise, and you can't be selfish in a relationship. It can't always be about you. And so Molly just making no effort to get to know this man's brother. She's totally ignoring the signs. Molly and Issa, they never really pick up on social cues. You can't tell by this man's face and his demeanor that he's running out of patience. So right before the conversation gets heated, Issa and Nathan show up. So the situation is instantly awkward. Issa and Nathan can kind of tell that they walked in on something, but they're not exactly sure what it is. They're not sure if it's because Issa's there or because they were fighting before. It's just weird. But Molly insists that they stay for dinner because she had all this extra food, and so did Andrew. He's like, let's just call it a farewell dinner. And so they decide to stay. So the wine and the conversation are flowing, and they're all having a really good time. Issa and Molly are sharing stories with Andrew and Nathan about this old apartment that Issa used to have, and they're talking about old memories, and they're laughing like old times. And then Issa suggests they play this game that they used to play, this drinking game where you guess the height of, different celebrities, and Molly's kind of reluctant. But then there's a little bit of a non-verbal communication between Molly and Andrew. Andrew touches her arm and looks at Molly, and then Molly agrees to it. Andrew then smiles with pride, and when he walks off, he winks at Molly, kind of letting her know, see, this is what I'm talking about. I see you trying. And Molly was happy that he was happy. She was trying to show Andrew that, look, I can try, I can meet her halfway. So I thought it was a good thing. So then when he walks off, Molly decides that she's going to text Andrew, and she says, see, I'm trying. But she doesn't send it to Andrew. She accidentally sends it to Issa. I feel like in this scene, you could literally see Issa's heart break. She looks at Molly, who's completely oblivious to what she had just done, and she texts Molly back and says, I don't think that this message was meant for me. And then she abruptly just gets her things and just walks out. And then Nathan is like, you okay? Is everything okay? And then Molly runs out after Issa. And, she was like, well, that really wasn't meant for you to see. And Issa's like, clearly. Obviously, it wasn't meant for me to see. I didn't know it was so hard for you to try to be around me. I didn't know being around me was so difficult for you. So Molly tells Issa, that's how I feel and that's how I've been feeling. And Issa was like, I keep trying to talk to you. And I keep trying, but I can't be the only one who's trying. And Molly's like, you talking about brunch? You talking about having all these surface conversations, not talking about the real issues? This has been going on since before the block party. Again, Molly still doesn't spell out, say directly what her exact problem with Issa is, saying that we have problems, saying that we need to talk, but never giving specifics. It's like she wants Issa to know what the issue is, and clearly Issa doesn't. So, Molly's like, maybe, who you are now isn't a good fit for who I am now. And that's we've been saying as an audience this entire season, that they're growing, but they're growing in different directions. So Molly is shocked when Issa replies, okay. So Molly's like, okay, almost like in disbelief, like, really? And Issa calmly gets into her lift and rides away. And Molly is just standing there. So as Issa is rolling away, the lyrics to a song play, and the lyrics are, I've been trying to be where you are. Could it be that I'm searching too hard? Won't you come find me? And that's exactly what the issue with Molly and Issa are. They cannot seem to find themselves on the same page to save their lives. And Molly is not willing to meet Issa halfway. Andrew has been right. She won't meet Andrew halfway with regard to the brother. She won't meet Issa halfway. Like, okay, if you had so much to talk to her about when she called you for brunch, why not talk about it then? It's like, if it's not exactly how she wants it, when she wants it, she doesn't want it. And you can't have that level of pettiness and think you're going to have healthy relationships. It's the same thing her therapist said. Do you want to be right or do you want to be in relationships? At some point, Molly's going to lose every relationship that means anything to her. And you shouldn't have to hit rock bottom to change. But I think that's what's going to have to happen to Molly. So next week's episode is the season finale of the show. So I definitely wanted to give a prediction here. And I also want to hear your predictions in the comments section. But, from the preview, it looks like Molly is arguing with someone. And she says, I let stuff go all the time, which we already know is a bold-faced lie. Molly was on the beach in Mexico calling her therapist, saying that she has a hard time letting things go. I think she was arguing with Andrew, and it also looks like she slammed something down on the counter. I think that she's giving him his key back and that he breaks up with her. I think after seeing how Molly is with him and how she is with her so-called best friend, talking about Issa behind her back, refusing to swallow her pride, not getting along with the brother, I think that Andrew is finally tired of it. And I think he breaks up with her in the season finale. And I think it's going to be Issa in the next season that's going to have to help Molly pick up the pieces. For someone like Molly, who is so stubborn and so stuck in her ways, to actually change, I think something dramatic has to happen. Losing a man like Andrew might be what it takes. I don't want that for her. I want Molly to be happy, but I want her to be in healthy relationships, not relationships where she's manipulating people and refusing to learn. Molly has refused to learn all season long. Every time you think she's making some progress, she makes one step forward, she takes two steps back. I do believe that Andrew makes Molly better, but I think at this point it's become draining and exhausting and even toxic at this point. And I think that it's unfair for Andrew to have to keep on, trying to be this nice guy, and Molly won't even compromise. Just like Molly wouldn't meet Issa halfway, she's not meeting Andrew halfway either. I've heard a lot of people say that Molly doesn't deserve Andrew. Do you guys think that's true? Love to hear your thoughts and opinions on last night's episode. Do you think that Issa and Molly can come back from this? This relationship has been going downhill for quite some time. Do you think that Molly will even be in the next season? Do you think that Issa is still going to make things work with Lawrence. Will Lawrence come into next season, or will Lawrence move to San Francisco? So let me know your thoughts and opinions on last night's episode. Let me know your predictions for the season finale, and also what your predictions are for next season. Will Molly and Lawrence even make it to next season? I would love to hear your thoughts. And that's pretty much it. If you like commentary like this one, go ahead and subscribe to my channel, and also be sure to turn on those post notifications as well. I will be sure to link my last review on the screen so you guys can check that out, and also be sure to subscribe. That way you'll never miss a thing. Till next time, later divas and dudes. Deuces, honey.